Hi everyone. Someone wrote me a message and asked if I could describe some of the formative experiences I had as a teenager and how they changed me and maybe how they put me on a path that I've trodden in a zigzag way ever since. I've been sitting here thinking about the question, and it's so true. There are these formative adventures and experiences and people who are like tent pegs in my life. They helped me pull the guy ropes of my life and the work I do taut. There have been so many of them and so many encounters with people who have affected me and inspired me and influenced me and got me to think in one way or another. Thinking back, I grew up at Langton House in Kent, this very beautiful Georgian house. And I always half imagined that everyone grew up in Langton houses because it was all I knew. And someone else asked me to make a video on that, so maybe I'll do that next. From time to time in my childhood, as I've written in quite a few of my books, we would come to Morocco. We would go to Fez, to Essaouira, to Gulmim, down into the desert, and it was the early 70s and the mid 70s, and Morocco was still a kingdom unattached in so many ways to the modernities of Northern Europe or even Southern Europe. Those journeys, I was just a small child, seeded something in me. They seeded this sense of cultural colour and commotion and monumental joy at breaking the rules maybe and living according to a different blueprint. I went to an English boarding school and before that a prep school, and I was always told what to think and what to do and how to be. But when we came to Morocco, it was as if the rule book was ripped up. And then in my mid-teens, I remember first going to Egypt with my family, to Cairo, Luxor, and all around, and reconnecting with this North African life and magnificence. And then when I was 16, my sisters and me and my aunt Amina went to northern Pakistan for a family wedding. It was almost as if I was a blank sheet of paper, and that journey to northern Pakistan and the Hindu Kush was the journey on which my blank white sheet of paper had the first lines of experience scoped over it. And then when I was 17, I went in the summer of 1984 to the United States, and I learned to fly small airplanes, and I wrote about it in one of my books. It was a huge challenge for someone who's dyslexic and incredibly bad with maps. I was lost most of the time, especially always when flying solo over northern Florida. But it was an experience that challenged me so deeply. And then I spent a month flying around the United States with an air pass on an airline that doesn't exist anymore called Republic Airlines. I remember they flew to, 140 cities or even more, and I could fly anywhere, anytime, and I did. And nearly all that month, I stayed within the airport system, coming out every so often to see the landmarks like the Grand Canyon and others. And then my life changed enormously when age just 19, I travelled to Kenya and went to university in Nairobi and studied African dictatorships, and then began my great lone travels, zigzagging around Africa and then Asia and Latin America as well. And I remember sitting in a cafe in what was then Zaire, what's now Congo, in the Kivu region, and I remember thinking, I can never ever allow myself to have a normal path. From here on out, it's got to be this life or nothing. And that was a long time ago now. I don't even know how many decades. It was probably almost 40 years ago, and it was. And I feel pleased and proud that I kept on that path and zigzagged and went down always the more interesting path when the road forked, and never ever allowed myself to follow routes in life that others would seem to think were the only acceptable ones. For me, it's always been about doing something different, believing in yourself, and having a damn interesting time.